yesterday, the life process, 10th standard. This is the third lesson, life process. The first lesson in biology. Yesterday I had done about the autotrophic nutrition, that is about photosynthesis in plants. I had given the homework also, but nobody is responding for the homework. Only Janvi, she is doing the homework. Nobody is showing any response in the WhatsApp group. So please children, particularly 10th standard children, I am very much putting stress and saying, see the videos, learn properly. You can frequently see the videos and you can make your whatever the learning is very clear. Okay, so see the videos, see the explanation, whatever the homework we are giving now. It is based on this explanation only. Moreover, you don't have the textbook. We are not giving anything apart from the textbook. We are not giving anything. So whatever we are explaining, whatever we are writing on the board, related to that only we are giving the questions, not from the lesson. Anything, nothing is asked from the lesson. So please children, see the videos, attend the classes and do your homework and send to the WhatsApp group, so that we will also come to know that you are in contact with us. Okay. So now I will start with the life process. Next topic in life process, that is about heterotrophic nutrition. What is heterotrophic nutrition? In heterotrophic nutrition, the organism obtain their food from some other organism or from some other plants or animals. They are dependent. They do not make their own food, unlike plants. Okay, plants make their own food from the simple raw materials or from the simple compounds what they are getting from the environment. They make the complex substances. But here in heterotrophic nutrition, what do? The organisms, they do not make their own food. They depend on either plants or animals, directly or indirectly, for their nutrition, for their food. They take the complex substance. In heterotrophic nutrition, they take the complex substances and break them down in their body. Break them into their body, into simple substances, into simple ones which they assimilate in their body. Okay, so that is the opposite of photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, the plants take the simple raw materials and they process the bigger molecules or the bigger compounds, larger compounds. But here, in heterotrophic nutrition, the complex substances are taken and they are broken down in their body and into the simple ones, and the simple ones are thus used in their body. Heterotrophic nutrition is of many types. The first one is some of the organisms like yeast or any kind of fungus, molds, yeast and all. What do? They break down the complex substances outside their body only. The complex substances, no? They break it outside their body. They break it outside their body and then absorb it. Okay. Okay, they absorb it. The complex substances are taken, broken down outside the body only by releasing some enzymes and all. They break it outside only and then they assimilate in their body. Some of the organisms. Other organisms like parasites. Parasites, you have many kinds of parasites. Plants, on plants also you have parasite. Some worms in our body also are parasites. Leech in our intestine is a parasite. Okay, so what it does, it takes the nutrients from our body. Okay, the already prepared nutrients which are present in our body are absorbed. The worms in our body, the ticks, the lice, all these small insects are what? These are the parasites on the other organisms. What do? They take the processed food from the organism. They obtain obtain the digested food, the food which is already digested in the host body, on the body in which they are living, on the body in which they are residing or they are living, that processed food only they take, and they are known as the parasites. They obtain the digested food. So, digested food from host. So, these type of organisms and all, they don't have any specific digestive organs or anything, because they obtain already the digested food from the host. No need of digesting, only sucking the nutrients from their host and using it in their body. That is only their work, that is parasites. But some of the organisms like heterotrophs, what we say, the animals, the higher animals, the lower animals, for example, amoeba. Okay, how it is? It is also a heterotroph only. What it does? It takes what is the shape of the amoeba? It is shapeless. It is shapeless. So it lives in water. It is a unicellular organism. Okay, so any food particles, small, minute, microscopic food particles, if it finds in the water, what it does? This false food, it extends its false food like this. It extends the false food like this. It engulfs that. It covers that food particles. It forms a hollow cavity. Okay. Slowly it covers that. Here only, in this hollow cavity only, it will break up that complex food particle, and slowly it will be absorbed inside the body. So it will develop a hollow cavity by its pseudopodia, that is finger-like projection. It will just surround that food particle, okay, with its body only. So here, any part of the body can do this work. Okay, the whole body is in contact with the food particles which are there in the water. Whatever the organic waste particles of the plant or the animal matter is there in the water, it surrounds that with its body surface only, forms a hollow cavity. In that hollow cavity only, what happens? The food is being digested and it is taken inside. So in this picture also you can see, this is the picture. I will be giving you the picture of this amoeba. Okay, you can practice it. Okay, so this is the nutrition in amoeba, how it captures its food with its pseudopodia, and how the food vacuole is being created. This hollow cavity is known as the food vacuole. So inside the food vacuole, it is broken down, the food particle is broken down. After it is broken down into a simpler one, it is taken inside. Okay, you can see as usual the amoeba is there. So this photo I will be giving you the picture. Okay, you can practice this picture. This picture is also, diagram is also important. They may ask this diagram. This was about the lower organisms, whether it is yeast is also unicellular. Parasites, they are also lower organisms, they don't have any digestive organs. Amoeba is also a single-celled organism. Okay, it doesn't have any digestive tissues or organs and all. So when coming to multicellular organisms like human beings, okay, so these simple processes will not work out. Okay, so their body is more complex. They have many different organs in their body. When you consider the digestive system only, there are different organs in our body, and what type of nutrition we are having, that is heterotrophic nutrition. So in heterotrophic nutrition, what is that? We take the complex food. Complex food is taken. Complex food is broken down into simple ones. Simple food which is absorbed by the blood. By what? How this complex food is broken down into the simple one? By the biocatalysts. Biocatalysts means what? That is nothing but the enzymes. Enzymes help in, okay, enzymes are released all over in our digestive organs, which help in breaking down of the complex food, whatever we are taking. There are different enzymes for breaking sugar, that is carbohydrate, different enzymes for breaking proteins, different enzymes for breaking fats in different organs. They are released and those food particles are broken down. Carbohydrate is finally broken down into glucose, which can be easily assimilated in the blood. Glucose readily mixes with the blood and it is assimilated in the cells. It is absorbed by the cells. Proteins, the end product of proteins, what is there in our food? Proteins, what we are taking in our food, they are converted to amino acids. Amino acids are the basic units of protein. Okay. Fats are finally broken down into fatty acids, which can be easily absorbed by the blood and can be assimilated in the cells. Okay, so these are the end products. Carbohydrates to glucose, proteins to amino acid, fats to fatty acids. So the final product what we are getting from each component of the food, it doesn't take place in one organ only. Starting from the mouth to the last part of the alimentary canal, that is the small intestine. The complete digestion where it takes place is the small intestine. There in the small intestine the complete digestion takes place, and from there only these end products are absorbed in the small intestine and they are mixed up with the blood. Now we will see how this digestion takes place in our body. So starting from the mouth, the food what we take, okay, it goes through all over the alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is a long tube, okay, of the digestive system, starting from the mouth. Okay, mouth. This is the mouth. Esophagus or the food pipe. Then we have the stomach. Then we have the liver. Then we have the pancreas. This is small intestine. The large intestine. Rectum and this is the rectum and the anus. Okay. So food is taken in the mouth. In mouth, saliva is secreted. Saliva is secreted by the salivary glands. Okay, there are 3 types of salivary glands. Those help in secretion of saliva. What is the function of saliva? It makes the food soft. Okay, it makes the food soft, sticky. Because of that, what happens? It helps in the transportation of food in the esophagus. Saliva, what it does in the mouth? It softens the food. Apart from softening the food, it also releases an enzyme known as salivary amylase. Salivary amylase. So what this salivary amylase does? Salivary amylase converts the complex sugars or the carbohydrates into the simple one, into the simple sugar. So this is not the final digestion, still this sugar has to be broken down. So partial digestion takes place in the saliva. The complex sugars, when they are mixed in the saliva, when they are mixed with the salivary amylase which is present in the saliva breaks down those complex sugar into the simple sugar. The food which is partially, you cannot say it is digested, the partially chewed food rolls down into the esophagus. that is known as bolus. Okay, that food, this thing is known as bolus. This esophagus is made up of muscles and soft bone. Okay, esophagus is made up of bones. We can't say it is made up of muscles only. Esophagus shows the peristaltic movement. Okay, esophagus shows the peristaltic movement. What is that peristaltic movement? It is the movement of the muscles, the wave-like movement of the muscles. You can push the food up to the opening of the food pipe. Near to the food pipe you can swallow the food. After that you are not ingesting the food inside. It is the work of the esophagus. The muscles of the esophagus will contract. They show the wave-like movement. These muscles they will show the wave-like movement as soon as the food enters into it. As soon as the food enters into this esophagus, the muscles will show movement, the wave-like movement that is known as the peristaltic movement. So because of that movement only, the food enters, it moves and goes into the stomach. Here in the pharynx region, this is the pharynx region. Pharynx is a common opening for both nose and mouth. Pharynx is a common opening for both nose and mouth. So when the food is entering into the food pipe, here you have the windpipe. Exactly back of it will be the windpipe. Okay. So when the windpipe, we see that food goes into the food pipe only. It doesn't enter into the windpipe. How is that possible? Because here is one covering known as the epiglottis. Epiglottis is the covering which will flap over the windpipe, which will cover the windpipe when you are swallowing the food. So you see, when you are swallowing the food, you will not breathe. Okay, you cannot breathe when you are swallowing the food. When the food is entering into the esophagus, you cannot breathe. You cannot take the breath. Okay, when you are chewing, you are breathing. But when you are swallowing the food, you are not breathing. That means what? This windpipe is closed by epiglottis. Okay, so that this food particle should not enter into the windpipe. Okay, that epiglottis is a muscular membrane. Epiglottis is a muscular membrane which closes the windpipe to check that no food particle enters into the windpipe. Understood? If it enters by mistake, what will happen? You will have choking. Okay, you will be unable to breathe. You will have coughing. You will cough very severely till that food particle comes out through your mouth or nose. So it is always advisable, you say, when we are eating, we should not talk too much. We should not laugh. We should eat slowly. Because why? Because there are chances of getting the food entered into the windpipe. So that is by naturally, okay, by nature itself, what is the precaution made here in the digestive system? Epiglottis is that membrane which covers the windpipe. It does not allow the food particles to enter into the windpipe. Okay, so that is the precaution what is done. So once the food enters into the windpipe, enters into the food pipe, not windpipe. Once it enters into the food pipe, by the peristaltic movement, it goes into the stomach. No digestion takes place in the food pipe. It enters into the stomach. Then in the stomach starts the digestion. This is in the mouth. The next in the stomach. Stomach is a muscular bag. When food enters into the stomach, it expands. Okay, the lining of the stomach, which is made up of epithelial cells. Okay, the simple epithelial cells are there, which are secretory in function. Some cells are secretory in function. So those secretory cells, they excrete or they secrete the enzymes such as pepsin, HCl, hydrochloric acid, then mucus. These are the three things which are secreted by the stomach, the lining of the stomach, the cells of the stomach. They secrete pepsin, HCl and mucus. What is the function of HCl? HCl in the stomach, first of all, one function of the HCl is to kill the germs which are present in the food. By mistake mistake any bacteria or whatever has entered in your body or in the stomach through the food, it kills that HCl. And moreover, HCl creates an acidic medium. It creates an acidic medium for the action of pepsin. For the action of pepsin. If pepsin has to act, pepsin is an enzyme. It is a biocatalyst. It is a kind of protein. All enzymes are proteinous in nature. So when pepsin has to act in our stomach, HCl has to be released. It has to make the medium in the stomach. The medium in the stomach, it should be acidic. So for that purpose, HCl is released. Moreover, it kills the germs also. And what pepsin does in the stomach? Pepsin converts the proteins, the larger protein molecules. It acts on proteins, on larger protein molecules to proteases. Okay, it converts proteins into proteases. Proteases is not the end product. Still, proteases has to be broken down into amino acids or dipeptides. Okay, in the small intestine. The complete digestion takes place in the small intestine. Partial digestion takes place in the stomach. Okay, and what is the function of pepsin? Pepsin breaks down the proteins into smaller ones or the simple ones. Okay, for further breaking of the for further digestion. Okay, mucus. Mucus is a sticky substance. Mucus is the sticky substance which is released again by the gastric glands in the stomach. What it does, mucus? It protects the lining of the stomach. It protects the lining of the stomach or the tissue of the stomach from getting burned by HCl. When HCl is released in the body, it is acidic. It will rupture our tissues. It will corrode we cannot say, it will rupture, it will damage our tissues of the stomach. So to reduce that damage, okay, to nullify that damage caused by HCl, mucus is released. So mucus, when it is released along with these things, now what it does, it will protect the lining of the HCl. It will protect, mucus will protect the lining of stomach from HCl. HCl is acidic in nature. It may damage our lining of the stomach. So to neutralize the effect of HCl in the stomach, mucus is released. Okay. So if HCl is released in more quantity, if you are not eating food properly, if HCl is released in more quantity, what will happen now? You will feel like burning sensation in the stomach. That is what acidity will say. Okay, timely food if you are not taking. HCl will be released in the stomach. That will cause the burning sensation in our stomach. If for prolonged time that acidity is there, what will happen? This lining of the stomach, no, they will get they will get ruptured. Pimples you can't say, sores will be formed. How injuries will be there on the skin, no? Like that, injuries will be caused on the lining of the stomach because of this severe action of HCl. So that will convert into ulcers. So that is very dangerous. So timely food you have to take so that HCl doesn't act more on the lining of the stomach. So because of acidity, it may lead to severe cases in the digestive organs and all. So the injury on the stomach, the lining of the stomach, okay, what injury you have on the skin, if it is injured, this lining, if it is ruptured, if the blood is coming out of that lining because of severe acidity, that leads to ulcer. Ulcer is very dangerous. Okay, if ulcer is not healed properly, it may lead to cancer also. So that should not be ignored. So how to prevent that? Timely food you have to take. Okay, timely food, whatever it is, you have to take the timely food and you have to see that you are preventing acidity in your stomach. So that is the partial digestion what is taking place in our stomach, that is pepsin, HCl and mucus. That is the function what I have written. The next is in the small intestine. Is in the small intestine, the complete digestion small intestine. Okay. In small intestine, bile juice is secreted from liver. Okay, and pancreatic juice is secreted from pancreas. And intestinal juice is secreted from intestine, small intestine. This is the biggest gland in our body. Liver is the biggest gland in our body, and this is the pancreas. What we see below the stomach is the pancreas, and here we have the liver. Liver, what it does, food doesn't go inside the liver or the pancreas. These are the associated glands where the juice from the liver, that is the bile juice or the pancreatic juice, will go into the small intestine where food is present. After the partial digestion in the stomach, the food goes into the small intestine. The food goes into the small intestine for complete digestion. So the bile juice from the liver, pancreatic juice from the pancreas enter into the small intestine for digestion. Now bile juice doesn't digest the food. Particularly bile juice, it is helping in emulsification of fats. Bile juice helps in emulsification of fats. Emulsification means what? The fat molecules which are present in our food, whatever the oily things we take, those are the fat molecules. It will break down. Okay, the bile juice will break down. Emulsification is the breaking up of fat globules into simple one for enzymatic action. See, fat globules are very big. Enzyme cannot act on these large molecules. They cannot act on the large molecules. So bile, what it does, bile juice which is secreted from the liver, those fat molecules it will break down so that further enzymes may act on the those simple molecules of fats. That is only the function of the liver here in case of digestion. But liver is the largest gland. It has many functions. Okay, whatever the harmful substances are created in our body, all the nitrogenous waste or salts which are harmful to our body, or the cells which are dying in our body, where they are taken? They are taken to the liver only, where they are degraded, where they are made less harmful, and then they are secreted from our body. They are excreted from our body. That is the main organ. Liver is the main organ. We say liver is the graveyard of the body. Graveyard, why we say graveyard? What is the use of graveyard? How we use the graveyard? The dead ones we go and put in the graveyard. No, the same thing. Whatever the things that are harmful in our body, whatever the things which are dying, the cells or whatever the things, the hormones, after their function they are not used. They are useless. Vitamins, hormones, proteins, the broken down cells, or the salts, or the nitrogenous waste, what all is created in our all throughout the body, which is no more useful in our body, is taken to the liver. It is broken down, and from there it is excreted. So it is the main function, but in digestion it doesn't help in digestion and all. Only it helps in emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats is nothing but breaking up of fat globules into simple one for enzymatic action. Okay, for enzymatic action. action. So pancreatic juice also goes into the intestine. Pancreatic juice contains trypsin. Trypsin is the enzyme. Trypsin is the enzyme which is secreted by pancreas. Okay, what trypsin does? And moreover, bile juice is alkaline in nature. Bile juice is alkaline in nature. Gastric juice is acidic in nature because of HCl. Bile juice is alkaline in nature. Okay, once the food becomes acidic in stomach, when it enters into the small intestine, when it gets mixed with the liver or the bile juice, it becomes alkaline. So in this medium, what happens? The trypsin will act. The trypsin will act in the alkaline medium. It will break down the proteins or partially digested proteases to dipeptides. Okay, further, trypsin what it do? The partially digested proteins in the stomach are broken down into dipeptides by the action of trypsin. Okay, trypsin is a protein, it is an enzyme which acts on proteins which were broken down by the stomach. Okay, the enzymes in the stomach, that is the action of trypsin. So now the food, when it is entered into the small intestine is a long coiling tube. Okay, to fit in a small place. Okay, this small intestine has coiled many times. Okay, it has coiled many times to fit itself in a small place. So because of its coiling, it has increased its the surface area by fitting in a small place. By coiling only, it has got large number of large amount of surface area. So in herbivorous animals, the small intestine is more longer than in the carnivorous. We are we are not herbivores. We are not purely herbivores. Okay, we are not grass-eating animals. In grass-eating animals, the small intestine is of longer length than the carnivores. Why? They need to digest the cellulose in their body. In the grass mainly what is present? In grass mainly cellulose is present. Cellulose is a complex sugar. It is a high molecule sugar. Okay, so that cellulose has to be digested in their body. It will not be digested soon. So the length of the small intestine is more. Okay, to release more enzymes, and it will take longer time to digest. So the length of the small intestine in grass-eating animals is more to digest the cellulose which is present in the grass. But carnivores, they have what? They have the small intestine of shorter length. Why? We don't eat grass enough. Okay, we don't take cellulose enough in larger quantity. We eat the things which are easily digested. Carnivores usually take the flesh. Flesh is easily digested, not like cellulose. So when compared to herbivores, the carnivores have shorter small intestine. Okay, they have smaller intestine because they eat meat which is easily digested. But herbivores, they eat grass which takes longer time to digest, and for that they have longer small intestine. Okay, and moreover you can see here appendix that is not functioning here. Appendix is very much functional in grass-eating animals. Appendix is a small, outgrowth you can see in near the large intestine, near one end of the large intestine. You can see in the figure also. You can see, I'll show you. Okay, that is appendix, which is very much functional in grass-eating animals, but not in flesh-eating animals. This appendix is helpful in digesting the grass, releasing the enzymes for the digestion of cellulose. For the digestion of cellulose, this is very much. But in our body, this appendix is non-functional. We don't eat cellulose, but in grass-eating animals, it is functional. So that was the comparison between grass-eating animals and the fresh-eating animals. That is a very important question they have asked. Once they had asked why the small intestine in grass-eating animals is longer than the carnivores. It is because grass-eating animals take cellulose, which takes longer time for digestion. For that purpose, they need longer small intestine. Okay, so now the small intestine, what is that? Proteins are digested to dipeptides with the help of trypsin. Now intestinal juice also secretes many enzymes, and complete digestion takes place in the small intestine. So what is the end products? I said sugars. So in the intestine, what happens there? The final digestion takes place by intestinal juice, or the enzymes are secreted by the intestines. So carbohydrates or the sugars, whatever we take, that are converted to glucose. Proteins or dipeptides, which was the last end product, dipeptides. Dipeptides are again the proteins. Okay, they are the proteins. Dipeptides are again the proteins, again which has to be digested to amino acids. Amino acid is the final product. It is the final product of the digestion of proteins. Then fats are converted to fatty acids. These are the end products. Okay, these are the end products of the digestion which takes place in the small intestine. And these small intestine, when you see the inner lining of the small intestine, they have small finger-like projections. This is the tube of the small intestine. This is the tube of the small intestine. If you take the cross section of that tube of the small intestine, you see small finger-like projections on both the layers. These are known as what? Villi. Okay, villi. So they increase the surface area, and here these villi, when you see like this is enlarged one. This is one. This is one villi. They are fully entangled with the blood vessels. So when the digested food is flowing here, and all, what will happen? All these nutrients are taken into the blood. The glucose, amino acids, fatty acids and all, they are taken into the blood here. See here. Here the food will be flowing here. Okay. So this one portion I am showing here, this one. So they are fully covered or entangled with the capillaries. These are the blood capillaries. They are attached to that villi. So when the food is moving here around that capillaries, what will happen? Only the nutrients will be absorbed in these capillaries. The nutrients will go into the inside the blood vessels, or they mix with the blood. And as the blood goes into the different parts of the body, it supplies all these nutrients to different parts of our body or the tissues. So because of this villi, why this villi has to be present? This villi increases the surface area of the small intestine. Numerous millions of villi are present. Numerous villi are present. That these villi are fully covered with the blood vessels. So because of that villi, what is happening? The surface area of the absorption of the food increases. The surface area of the absorption of the food increases. More and more nutrients will be absorbed because of this villi. And what will happen? More and more food will be assimilated inside the villi. Okay, in the blood vessels. So that is the function of the villi. And once the food is assimilated in the blood, it is absorbed in the blood, it will be taken to different parts in our body tissues. Okay, so that is the final digestion. Okay, now the undigested food comes to the rectum. Okay, the last part of the large intestine is the rectum, where it is stored. The food is stored there. Excess of water is taken out from the rectum. It is temporarily stored there. In large intestine, no digestion takes place in the large intestine. In large intestine, what is the main function of the large intestine? Is to take out the excess of water. In large intestine, most of the excess water is taken out from the undigested food. And that undigested food is taken to the last part of the large intestine, that is rectum, where it is temporarily stored. And from anus, that is the opening of the rectum, the large intestine, it opens as anus, from where the undigested food is being taken out. So that is the end of the alimentary canal. So step by step in the mouth, in the stomach, in the small intestine, I have written all the points in the on the board. So listening to my explanation, you need to again answer the questions. So again few questions I will be giving. Okay, today you need to answer those questions. Please be attentive in the class, listen to each and everything. You don't have the textbook, moreover you cannot review from the textbook. You have to listen to my explanation only. Okay, again and again you listen to my explanation. All the answers you get to my explanation only. So that is the end of the heterotrophic type of nutrition. Then later you will see what is there in the next class. So you have to go through the video and you have to answer the questions. Okay. So whatever the homework is given, children, you do it properly and you try to learn also those question answers whatever is given. Okay. The notes of this lesson I will be giving you soon. Till then, good luck.